and he doesn't even say women can do yoga in there.
Hello there. So I realized I don't have any videos really on talking about why I'm vegan, and this year I have been vegan for 20 years, 2019. 20 years, it doesn't seem like it. I just remember it being 15 years ago, and then suddenly it was 20 years. And I did this when I was younger, and I became vegan like when the internet was like just first out, like maybe eBay and PayPal had just begun like around that year. So I had just met people like in college and they were vegetarian, and then I decided to be vegetarian, and I was living in Kentucky. I'd never actually heard of a vegetarian. So I had to figure out what it even was, and I was really big into animals my whole life, being compassionate towards animals. Like this one, this is not even my cat. This is some random neighborhood cat hanging out with me. So I always had a connection towards animals and Mother Earth, and I grew up in like farm country on 40 acres around cows and various animals, and was studying veterinarian medicine, and I just like, let me try the vegetarian thing. Like this totally seems like it relates to me, and then I never looked back, and then I became vegan within a couple of months after doing more research on like dairy and eggs, and like dairy. Like I've stayed vegan for sure, but dairy and eggs have really been like hardcore, like maybe grossing me out more than meat, because just being gluten-free and knowing how dairy and eggs would affect my dairy especially would affect my body. And then meat, I think it was always for me about the energy of it, just knowing like the energy of factory farmed animals. You know, these grocery store meats are not grown on happy farms. They're like tortured animals that are raised in really small conditions. Even like the cows in the grocery store are typically feedlot cows that are bought and then sold to feedlots. And I do know a lot of vegans, even people that own vegan restaurants, that went back to eating meat, and they start out like free range, eating non-factory farm meats, and it never is sustainable. You know, they don't want to pay $1,000 a month to eat a meat diet, or probably 4 times, 10 times the cost, I don't know, at least 4 times the cost for something that isn't factory farmed or feedlot grown, even a small amount of meat incorporated. And then they go from that to just eating kind of restaurant fast food, or, you know, still healthy, but the meat is just the same as you eat in fast food. Like it's a slippery slope once they introduce the meat. So for me, it's mostly about the energy of it, and it's definitely kept me fit. Like I am 38 this year, and I have never had an issue like being what I consider overweight for my size. And it's just like I eat whatever I want, as large a meals as I want. I never cut calories. I've looked at calories, making sure I'm eating enough. Like when I get into lifting weights hardcore in those cycles, when I had to eat 3,000 or 4,000 calories a day, I definitely had to like look at my calories and make sure I was eating enough to gain muscle and to not lose weight. But for those cycles, I'm just like doing yoga and MMA or boxing. I just basically eat whatever I want, and then stay within maybe like the fat amount that I like, and eating enough vegetables I like, and rice and beans, and protein the amount I like. So it's pretty easy that way. I do it for the health reasons as well, but it's really not, you know, that much of a priority. I know a lot of people become vegan for health reasons and they feel great. But, it's just when you drink it that way, it's just like another diet. Like, you're not going to stick with something 100% um, if it's just for health reasons. And it's fine if someone doesn't, like Tantra is all about doing whatever you want, but I think there's a reason why the majority of Tantra teachers are vegan, more so than yoga teachers. Like, most of us are vegan. We really connect with like animals and whatever, meat is, just all the prana's gone. I also wouldn't eat like vegetables that have been cooked and sitting in the fridge for a week or two. I know many people do meal planning and they'll eat week-old cooked broccoli. I won't, because yeah, it's calories, but it just doesn't have any life to it. I stick with fresh foods and healthy, but I still eat a lot of dark chocolate. I eat vegan ice cream, coconut milk ice cream, and basically whatever I want, but I don't like the unhealthy stuff anymore. Some people talk about, well, the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali don't say you have to be vegan. Other people say it does say it because of ahimsa and what it says about the yamas doing no harm, or living a clean life, only putting clean items in your body. I don't follow, even though I've had to study Patanjali Sutras and yoga teacher trainings, especially heavy with Kevala Dhamma. I don't follow him because for me it's just one man who 2,000 years ago wrote his opinions and his research of yoga, and he doesn't even say women can do yoga in there. So that's a major factor for me. And we have to make our own rules somewhat. I don't want yoga to be like a religion for me where I find this yoga text and I do every little thing it says. Now, I follow more the Tantric scriptures. The Vedas actually predate Patanjali by 1,500 to 2,000 years, the oldest texts. So that makes them 1,500 years before him. So around 3,500 years ago, these books were written, and they give us these ideas on how to practice yoga, which is great. But also, to play the devil's advocate, I think, we're in a modern world and we have to do some things differently. But the ahimsa still stands there, doing no harm to other creatures and to ourselves. So for me, like, to think about going and eating meat and chicken and dairy and eggs and everything, especially factory farm, I think I would just feel like crap. And then I would have to hugely go on diets and watch my calories and how much I eat. And I like to eat a lot. I like to eat as many cookies as I like, as much of an entree. I eat all the entree at a restaurant. I can't imagine being the kind of person that only eats like a quarter or half of their entree at a restaurant, or skips meals to stay thin. Like, being vegan and also gluten-free, I can eat basically whatever I want. So anyway, to get to my point, yes, I do it for health. I do it for the earth, for the overpopulation of the earth, having over 7 billion people. We can't feed everyone with meat when it's taking like 12 pounds of grain to make some chicken or something. And I mostly just do it because of the energy, prana aspects of meat, and wanting to be compassionate and feel energized. Like, I feel so healthy and light doing this diet. I feel mostly amazing. I rarely get sick. And, it's connecting into what my spirit feels, and my spirit feels like the vegan diet is correct for me. Now, I do know some Tantra yogis that will eat meat by ceremony. You might read that in some texts, and what the texts say is, and I don't do this, I will do maybe some other things that are considered bad. The texts say in ceremony, we'll do things we normally would not do. So some people will take some meat, like a small piece of meat, and put it on the altar, and they're doing their bad thing. Other people might do like marijuana that don't smoke, or they'll do wine. Like, I could put like some wine on the altar, or having like tantric orgy sex. So like in the ceremony, you're picking something or a few things and you do it just in the ceremony. So that's when you see in these texts about do something bad in ceremony. People aren't doing the ceremony every single day like, woohoo, let's have a bottle of wine, I put it on my ceremony, I bless it, I do my practice, and then I can drink the whole bottle. That's not ceremony. Or, eating a steak every day. It's a rare thing, but I don't, even for that, I'm not into eating meat. So it's been 20 years. I'm still going. And I would say I'm like fairly hardcore, but not really. I'm not trying to force other people to be vegan or vegetarian. It's just, that's my yoga lifestyle. And I'm not even that hardcore. Like, I don't feed my dog and cats and things a vegan diet, especially my elderly dog. For some dogs can be vegan, but for him, and arthritis and everything, he needs his meat diet, and some vegans don't like that. That's fine with me. I don't really care about people's opinions too much or at all. And other vegans feed their animals meat. Cats especially have to have meat or they have major problems. So it's about, do I want to do harm to my one pet, or feeding them meat, or not doing harm? They would eat meat if they were in the wild, and I don't have the desire to chase down every squirrel I see to eat it. I think that's how you're not a carnivore or omnivore. If you see a rabbit and squirrel and you instinctively start running, chasing after it, yeah, you probably should eat meat. But I've never met anyone that's like that. They may, after a second, like, oh, I should shoot this with a bow and arrow, but they have to think about it. It's not instinctual. Like, if you've ever had your dog off leash or something and it tries to grab an animal, or does, they're not even thinking about it. It's instinct. I must eat this thing. So, and we have flat teeth. I don't care if people say we have these carnivore teeth. These do not look anything like my dog's teeth or tiger's teeth. I could not rip apart flesh with just my teeth. If somebody does have like vampire looking teeth, then they're not real, or they probably need to get some dental work done to correct that. But primarily humans, our teeth are not going to be able to carve through some meat and rip it to shreds. But if that's what someone thinks, then that's more on them. But it is an average of 95 animals per year that the average American Western person eats. And 95 animals is a lot. One entire cow, many chickens, fishes, I think like 4 pigs. That's not a small amount of meat, and they're coming from factory farms, not the backyards. So anyway, that was long-winded, and I'm vegan for yogic reasons, basically. Thanks for watching all of this.